My dying mentor whispered, check my safety deposit box before the lawyers do. Box 492, burn the contents and tell no one. Professor Lansing grabbed my wrist with surprising strength for a man on his deathbed. His eyes were wild with desperation as he pressed a small key into my palm. Check my safety deposit box before the lawyers do. Box 492, burn the contents and tell no one. I promised him because he'd been my mentor for 8 years, the man who'd turned my life around when I was a dropout, heading nowhere. He died that night at 11:45 p.m. while I sat beside him. His wife had passed 3 years earlier, and his only daughter was too busy managing his estate to actually visit. I drove to First National Bank the next morning before the probate attorney could freeze his accounts. The branch manager recognized me from the recommendation letter Lansing had written years ago and let me access the box using the key and my name on the authorized list. Inside were stacks of documents, photographs, and audio recordings organized in labeled folders. The first folder made my hands shake. It contained evidence from a murder case that had put a man named Kyle Brennan in prison 12 years ago. Brennan had been convicted of killing his business partner, but these documents told a completely different story. There were photographs of the real killer, a wealthy developer named Vincent Crawford, entering the victim's office at the exact time of the murder. Security camera footage Lansing had somehow obtained showed Crawford planting evidence in Brennan's car. Witness statements that had never made it to trial proved Brennan had been across town during the killing. I recognized Crawford's name immediately because he'd donated over $2 million to our university and had a campus building named after him. The second folder contained more cases, 5 of them. 5 people sitting in prison for crimes they didn't commit, all because the real criminals had money and connections. Lansing had spent 15 years secretly investigating these cases and collecting proof of innocence. But here's what made my stomach drop. Every piece of evidence was obtained illegally. Break-ins, wiretaps, hacked security systems, stolen documents from law firms and police stations. Lansing had committed dozens of felonies to gather this proof. If I turned this over to authorities, it would all be inadmissible in court, and Lansing's legacy would be destroyed. He was a celebrated professor who'd helped hundreds of students turn their lives around. His scholarship fund had sent 60 kids from broken homes to college. His after-school program had kept countless teenagers out of gangs and prison. The third folder explained why Lansing was so desperate. Crawford had discovered Lansing was investigating him and had hired private detectives to dig into Lansing's activities. They'd found evidence of the break-ins and illegal surveillance. Crawford was waiting for Lansing to die so he could expose everything publicly, destroying Lansing's reputation and ensuring the evidence could never be used to free the innocent people. There was a letter Crawford had sent to Lansing 6 months ago, essentially blackmailing him. Stay quiet and die with your reputation intact, or expose the truth and be remembered as a criminal who destroyed any chance these people had at freedom. Crawford knew Lansing had terminal cancer and was just waiting him out. I sat in that bank vault for 2 hours weighing my options. If I burned everything, 5 innocent people stayed in prison forever. If I revealed it, those people still stayed in prison because the evidence was inadmissible. Plus, Lansing's life work would be destroyed, and his scholarship fund would probably collapse when donors pulled out. Then I remembered Lansing taught me that sometimes you have to break the rules to fix a broken system. I photographed everything with my phone, uploaded it to an encrypted cloud account, then burned the originals in my apartment fireplace. Over the next 3 months, I anonymously sent the evidence to investigative journalists piece by piece. They couldn't use Lansing's illegally obtained materials directly, but they could use them as roadmaps for their own legal investigations. One by one, the journalists uncovered the same evidence through legal means and published devastating exposés about Crawford and the other criminals.